Hello there, welcome, and thank you so much for clicking on my video today. If you're new here, my name is Rabbit and my pronouns are they, them, and if you're back, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. I'm super stoked for today's video because over like the last week or so I was working on this custom doll for my mom, and I'm so excited about how she turned out. This is the first time I've ever made like a doll stand, and I also wanted to do like a no-sew outfit for you guys. So the entire outfit, other than the bag, is no sewing required. So if that's something that you are looking for or are interested in learning about, I'm gonna show the whole process of how I made her from start to finish in this video. So before I show how I made her, I'll just like give you guys a look at her from head to toe, and just like a little explanation, details and stuff. So her hair is rerouted, just different yarns from the thrift store, and I gave her lots of really cool braided beads with like all these different like seashells and pearls and little like thrifted beads and stuff. Oops, something fell out. And also like shells and things are in there. So her hair is really pretty, and I wanted to give her a really peaceful expression, and I didn't want her to have lashes because lashes can be kind of a pain to stay on. So for my mom, I was like, let's just make her like a easy to care for doll where she can just like sit somewhere and you can dust her totally and it's very easy and it's all fine. So I didn't give her lashes, and I made her eyes closed and gave her just like this really pretty like purple eyeshadow, and she has gold freckles and purple lip gloss and lots of gold highlighter on her as well. Her top is a combination of little pearls from the thrift store and some moss, and her skirt is just made out of like silk floral fake leaves. She has this little belt that's made of lace with like some pearl detailing. She has like a little garter on her leg and this, I don't know what you would call it, this little leg decoration, I guess. For jewelry, she has a bracelet on the one hand that has this little potion bottle attached. And then for her big accessory that I really like worked a lot on and was like kind of the biggest part of this project was this little bag. So it's supposed to be like a little scavenger kind of bag. I'll just put her here. So it does open and close, it's magnetic, it has this really big button and all these cute little accessories on the straps and stuff. I made all the little mushrooms inside of it, and it has these charms hanging off of it, which I think are super cool. She has like a little spool of yarn on there, and the front is supposed to look like a leaf. I originally wanted to use a regular leaf, but it just didn't work out. She also has a crystal in this pocket, and a mushroom, and some moss and a feather in this pocket. So I think it's kind of just like her little goodie bag of things that she needs for her crafts. And then I'm so excited about her stand. I just got a bunch of stands off AliExpress. They're like plastic, I'll link them below. And I just decorated this one with moss and seashells and these mushrooms I made and different like flowers and pearls. And I just think it's so gorgeous, and I'm really proud of it. And it's my mom's birthday at the end of the month, and this is for her, so I really hope she enjoys it. I think she will like it. It's funny because I used to make her, or I used to make just in general, little tiny like fairies, I would call them, when I was a kid, just out of like wire and fake flowers and like big wooden beads for the heads that like I would draw the faces on and stuff. And so for her birthday this year, I wanted, since I've started to make dolls like last year and just completely fell in love with it, I wanted to give her like a really evolved version of kind of what I made as a kid. I thought that would be fun. And this doll, like a really big inspiration for me was Flora. So I'll show you guys really quick. Flora was the third doll I made. I love her. She's Fauna's sister. She's super cute. So this is Flora. So she's on an abominable, and this is my mom's doll, who I haven't given a name to yet. So comment below if you have ideas. But yeah, it's like cool to see how you evolve from times, because like third doll I ever made, most recent doll I've made, I think they're both pretty and I like them both a lot. But anyway, I feel like I've rambled enough and taken up enough of your time. So if you're interested in how I made her, I'll show the step-by-step on all about it, and if you want to see that, just keep watching, and thank you so much again. So first I just take off all the clothes that the doll is originally wearing, and when I got this doll, she already had her side shave removed, so that was fine. I cut the doll's hair really, really short with scissors, and make sure to trim it over the garbage can so it's really, really tight and short and as close to the hair plugs as possible. Once the hair's cut, I put the doll in a mug and just put really hot boiling water over her and let her soak for 5 minutes and then take the head out. Then I use the back of my tweezers to just scrape all of the hair plugs from inside the hair out, and then use those same tweezers to pull all the hair plugs out from inside the head. Then I take some strong acetone and move lemon, and use a cotton ball soaked in acetone to remove all of the face paint, the factory paint. For the really tiny cracks and crevices, I will use a Q-tip, but then I wash it with just regular dish soap and warm water and let it dry. Then it's time to measure the hair, so I take some thrifted yarn and double up the length that I want the hair to be, and then just cut it with scissors. Once I have lots and lots of it, I start pulling apart all the threads of yarn, so I have individual strands that I can then use to reroute the doll. And I just use my homemade rerouting tool, which is just a broken needle, in an awl kind of thingy, to poke all the hair into the existing holes in her head. And I didn't reroute the one side of her head that is supposed to be shaved. I'll just put some flocking powder in that eventually to cover it up. So just reroute the whole head, fluff it out. Then I'm just taking some plastic wrap and wrapping it all around the hair that I just made, because I'm going to spray the doll with some sealant so I can start the face up. I'm using some sewing pins to kind of poke all the little fibers of hair into the plastic wrap, and also to hold it back so that the hair doesn't get any Mr. Super Clear on it when I spray it. So then I go spray it, let it dry, and then I use Derwent watercolor pencils to just sketch out the basic shape of the closed eyelid that I want, and I used a slightly damp paintbrush to just smooth out any of the lines. It's kind of a process of going back and forth with like a slightly damp pencil if you want darker lines, but you always start with it being dry. Then for the brows, I just map them out using the nose as kind of a map for them, and do them really thin at first, and then use a wet paintbrush to saturate them. Keep going in and just tracing them deeper and with more color, basically with a wet pencil, so that they show up better. I'm always using a Q-tip to clean up any little mistakes and trying to make little lines so it kind of looks like fibers almost of the hairs of the eyebrow. Then I take the black pencil and a paintbrush to just color in the nostrils so they're just darker. And I'm using like a really beautiful plummy watercolor pencil to outline the lips. And I'm using that same pencil in the center, and then just using a wet paintbrush to spread that color out all over the lip. And I'm taking a lighter pink for the lower lip, and just continuing to go in with different shades of pinks and purples till I have a nice color that I like. I also use a really thin paintbrush to just make sure that the lip line is fully filled in, like the crease. Then I just take some purple eyeshadow, and I'm using it to give the doll some eyeshadow. This is just from NYX. I'm going in again with the black pencil on the eyeline, and this time I'm giving her some eyelashes and deepening the crease of her makeup with a purple watercolor pencil. Going in with more black to give her even more lashes. And then I'm using some soft pastels, a red one to give her just a little bit of blush on her cheekbones, her nose, and her chin. Then I'm taking some really light, shimmery, almost holographic purple eyeshadow in the front of her eye. And I'm taking that white pencil from earlier and just tracing little lines in the lip to give her those creases, as well as putting some hairs in the eyebrow with that white pencil. Then I'm taking some gold enamel and a really small paintbrush and just giving her a couple of freckles all around her cheeks and a couple around her temples and in the center of her face. They're really beautiful in the light, but it's a little bright. You'll see them in the last pictures. Then I take some Liquitex gloss and I do 3 layers on the lips. Then her face up is done, and I have been spraying it with Mr. Super Clear throughout all of this. I can remove the pins and the plastic wrap from her head and work on putting her flocking powder in. So I found out you can make your own flocking powder, so I decided to try this. So this is my first time. I'm just taking some yarn, the same one that I used to make her hair, and cutting it into really small bits and pieces. Then I take some Mod Podge and put it in all the area that I want her kind of shave side to go. And then I use the fluff and just kind of put it onto her scalp, and I actually think it worked out really good. Easier to work with than the professional flocking powder I've bought, and I feel kind of silly for buying it now. Then I'm happy with her hair, so I'm putting in a couple of braids. I think I put in about 6 or so, but I only put charms in 4 of them. Just want to give dimension to the hair with a couple of braids. And I'm taking a needle and thread and using all these different beads from the thrift store. I have like pearls and little gold ones and little green stones and shells and broken pieces of stone and stuff, and I'm using all of those to just decorate her hair and make it a little more interesting. And like I said, I do that in 4 braids, and I feel like that was enough. I didn't want it to get too heavy, so I felt like 4 was a good number. Then I spray her body with Krylon matte spray and use the same red pastel that I used on her face to just blush all the different corners and joints of her body. So I'm doing her elbows, her wrists, her shoulder blades, her hands, fingertips, knees. Just think it's really cute when the whole body has that blushed all over look. And then I'm taking that same enamel, the gold enamel that I used for the freckles, and giving her a couple of freckles just on her body. These are also super pretty when they just catch the light. Next, it's time to make her outfit, and like I said, it's no-sew. So first I'm just taking a hot glue gun and attaching a bunch of different pearls from the dollar store around her chest area. And I'm also taking some moss that was either from around my parents' house or the dollar store, I don't quite remember, and attaching it kind of as the bigger part of the top, kind of moss bikini moment. I think it's fine. And I get to use a bunch of different colors, and I think it's really nice. Then I measure out a little bit of elastic, or you could just use ribbon for the waistband of her skirt. And I take some plastic leaves and just glue them in place. I tried to get some that were similar to the same size, but I also cut them and folded them to make sure that they fit properly. And I just keep layering the leaves until I have enough that they will cover up her entire bum, if that makes sense. And I'm using just my hot glue gun again to attach some sticker pearls from the dollar store to the waistband to just give it a little extra detail. And just putting it in place with hot glue. This outfit is all hot glue, but it looks okay, so I think it's fine. Then I'm attaching a little bit of moss around her leg, just kind of wrapping it around, abstract pattern. I'm using some of that same elastic waistband to give her a little thigh bracelet thingy. Oh my god, I don't know what they're called. And attaching also a little pearl, fake pearl to it, so it matches the belt. And then I'm taking a ribbon that has a really cool little like lacy edge around it almost, and gluing it in place to make this swirly pattern going up her leg. It's supposed to kind of be like poison ivy almost. I don't know, I thought it was cute, and I just cut it and fold it under her foot to fit. Next, I'm making her little bag, so I'm tracing a leaf for the approximate size that I wanted, and I'm doing it on a sandwiched in half piece of paper. So I cut it, and then I cut it in half, so I have a front and a back. And then to make it kind of 3-dimensional, I'm cutting like the side of it, I guess you would say, and just folding it so it will fit, and then cutting it so it measures around it correctly. Once I have that, I trace it onto this old brown fabric, again in that sandwich shape, so I can have 2 even pieces of cloth for the front and the back of the backpack. I have my assistant joining me, of course. And then I wanted it also to have a little pocket on each side. So to do that, I basically just attached a little flap on both sides, so that when I sewed it together, I could leave the flap on the outside of the side of the bag, if that makes sense. And it worked out
I trimmed it to fit, obviously. It looks like a huge pocket right now, but it won't be in the end. So then I'm attaching the side of the bag all around. It's supposed to just make it a little bit three-dimensional. I just stuffed a cotton ball in it eventually to make it fit, but sewing the side of the bag all around. I don't know what the technical term for it is, like the base of the bag, the base and the sides. So once I have that, I fold my pockets in place so they fit the sides of the bag and aren't too big. And once they're pinned in place, I can sew the front or the back, depending on your perspective, to the bag itself. So I'm basically just making a weird little square with pockets on both sides and trimming those pockets right now to fit, turning it inside out. And it was a little bit loose, so I decided to hem the top of it and actually just gather that stitching a little bit so it was smaller. And first I wanted to use a regular leaf, like a fabric leaf, for the flap, but I found it didn't lay right, so I decided to just cut one out of a piece of felt instead. So I'm cutting some little slits into it so it has that kind of leafy texture. And once it's a good shape and size, I draw a line down the middle and kind of try to make the veins of the leaf with a pen. Then I'm sewing that leaf flap front of the backpack to the back of the backpack and cutting it to fit. And I forgot to sew the pockets of the bag shut at the bottom, and I didn't want things falling out of them, so that's what I'm doing here. As well as just attaching a couple of strings through the bottom of the bag, knotting them through, and then stringing a bunch of different beads throughout the backpack. I thought it would be cool if she had little charms hanging off her bag. I can show you guys the reference picture that I made when I was thinking of this bag, because I always draw out these terrible little sketches for my dolls and stuff. Once I have enough bangles hanging off of it, I am just attaching a little key with a needle and thread, and then using a hot glue gun to secure the strap. I'm gonna eventually cut it shorter, but you know, there is originally how it looked. And then I'm using some tiny little magnets from the dollar store to keep the bag shut and just gluing them with some hot glue on both sides of the bag. So, ta-da! And then to cover up the little bump of the hot glue, I'm just taking a big wooden button and threading it with some thread so it looks like it's been sewn, and then gluing it onto that spot. And it works out. Then I'm taking a tiny gold safety pin and attaching it to the bag, and some moss is going into one pocket. I'm using a needle to help it fit properly, as well as a tiny feather. Not sure what kind of bird that feather's from, but it's okay. Then to fill out the other pocket, I'm putting some seashells and then a little crystal to poke out the top. And I'm taking a toothpick and breaking it into a little piece and basically making her like a little spool of rope or thread that she would use on her adventures, and I'm just gluing that onto the backpack. Then for her little potion bottle, I'm taking some gold mica powder and putting it in that tiny bottle, a cotton ball, and some ink. You could also use food coloring. Food coloring would probably work better, honestly. Just didn't have any with me. And I'm taking some water and then just using the toothpick to stir it up until the cotton ball is saturated with liquid, and it kind of just like looks like a little cloudy scene in the bottle. I think it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of a meadow in there. So I'm just adding sparkle and color until I'm satisfied with it, and then poking a little tool through the top of it so that I can put it on a bracelet for her. I'm attaching a jump ring and a chain and then putting those on to another jump ring that I will attach around her wrist. Next, I'm just taking a little bit of acrylic paint and using it to just paint a dot of nail polish onto all of her toenails and her fingernails. I find this just adds a little extra touch of detail. It's not the same enamel that I used for her freckles, so it's supposed to have like a little bit of different gold tone than that. Then it's time to make some little mushrooms for her accessories and stuff, so I'm just taking some clay from the craft store and turning it into some mushroom caps by just kind of flattening them around my thumb. I'm using a bunch of different shades of purples and pinks and just kind of mixing clay to get the colors that I want. and making just these little kind of rounded pyramids with them. Once those are good to go, I'm taking some red and some blue pastels and using a paintbrush to just do a little bit of shading around all of the mushroom caps, to just give them a little bit of dimension. Some of them are red, some of them are blue. And then I bake them in the oven, and once they're baked, I take some liquid Sculpey and some white clay, and attach the white clay as like the base of the mushroom. Then I use a tool to just make the frills of the mushroom underneath, and then more white clay and more liquid Sculpey to make the stem, and then just using my little metal tools. You could also use a toothpick to just make sure that everything is sticking together correctly. And I'm just continuing with all of the mushroom caps until I have lots of them. I really find that when making mushrooms and kind of more complicated clay pieces, it's way easier to make a small portion of it and then bake it and then use liquid clay for the rest of it. Once everything's baked, I'm taking some watered down black acrylic paint and using it to put some pigment into the mushroom frills. Then I'm using a Q-tip to remove the excess of that pigment, and just make it kind of like a small gentle shadow under the mushroom caps. Give it a little dimension, you know? Once everyone has their dimension and is adequately shadowed, I am giving them their spots. So I'm taking some white acrylic paint and a toothpick and just using it to make some teeny tiny little spots so they look like little Amanita muscarias, but they're purple, so they don't really look like Amanita muscarias, but they're still cool. The little poisonous red and white. They're so cool. Toadstools. Ugh, so amazing. And then I just let them dry, and then I pick a couple of them to put in her bag, and the rest of them will go in her stand. Then I put a cotton ball in her bag so it can hold its shape, and sew a cowrie shell onto the strap of her bag, and then I'm using some hot glue to just secure all those little mushrooms and crystals and things into her pockets. Then it's my least favorite time, which is putting the head on the doll. I hate this part because it can crack the neck paint, but I also hate doing the face up when the body's on, so what are you gonna do? I get it on eventually, and then it's time to decorate the stand. So I'm just taking my little bowl of moss and kind of arranging it and trying some designs until I have one I'm excited about, and I start to lay it all back where I decided with the hot glue gun. This one kind of had leaves in the center and all these different moss going up. I wanted to put moss around the hip holder part, but I found it actually just made the whole thing look a lot messier when it was holding the doll, so I opted against that. I'm also attaching little fake flowers and those mushrooms I made with hot glue to just kind of make the scene feel a little more like a garden. And then my favorite part, oh my god, I was so happy with this idea. I took a broken pearl necklace from the dollar store. It's like fake pearls, but I just cut it to fit around the stand and glued it in place, and I just think it makes it look like a little rock garden, and it's so cute. I love it. I also used some little fake pearls and seashells that I've collected over the years, and just different little things to help make it look like a little forest that she could live in. Then I'm taking a little bit of highlighter and using a makeup brush to just apply it to the tip of her nose, her cupid's bow, and her cheekbones, as well as around her body a little bit. And I decided to paint a little pink heart on her potion bottle. I thought that would just be like a cute little touch. And then I put her on her stand and put her bag on her, and there she is. My very final touch, I think I added, just a couple of extra little pearls because I couldn't help it. But that's it. That's how I made her. I'll show some final pictures of her all put together. But I really, really liked her. And I used also some regular pearls in there, not just stickers, in the base. And I think that it just looks so pretty. All of them are plastic, but they're still cute. I mean, if it looks good, it doesn't matter if it's from the dollar store. Okay, I hope you enjoyed them.
Well, that's all I got for you. Oh, sorry, madam. Okay. That's all I got for you today. I really, really appreciate you guys sticking till the end of the video. I hope you guys like these doll transformation videos. I really enjoy making them. And my big project that I'm coming up with now is I want to make a bunch of dolls for my Etsy, pre-made custom dolls. put them on Etsy. So if you don't see an upload from me for a while, I'm really sorry, but that's gonna be my big focus, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will still try to keep uploading here, but we'll see. And I really hope you guys are having a really awesome day. If you're not, I hope tomorrow is better for you, or that today turns around. And yeah, thanks again for watching. I love you, and have an awesome day. Bye!